morning, everybody. It's unusual to see me up here, isn't it? It's unusual for me to see you also, from this angle. There's me wrecking the place already. Anyway, welcome to you. I'm sorry that we haven't got any Zoomers here today, but some of you may have heard that the equipment is playing up. So the Zoomers will welcome to you, Zoomers, when you do get on, but it'll have to be via YouTube. So it's nice to see you all anyway. Well, today my service is entitled Ethics and the Book of Life and Love. Now, last week after Edgar's service, it said, ethics. Oh, are you doing this? Are you doing that? What angle are you taking, Edgar? I said, stop. I said, whatever you think I'm doing, it won't be that. So that's just the title I've given it. So just, sit back, and I hope you all manage to get something out of the service today for your own personal selves. After much reflection, I sort of considered that, it is the title, in fact, that most clearly encompasses my thoughts and my research, in fact, when preparing for this service. And I'm hopeful that, as I said, these words do provide you with some nourishment and enrichment and food for thought. And now I'll light our chalice. And as you all know, the chalice lighting is a symbol of our worship together in our free and our liberal faith. And I think it's the closest we Unitarians probably get to a ritual. And it is an act that takes place in practically all Unitarian services and gatherings, wherever they may be held. And now our opening words from chalice lighting words, in fact, from our Unitarian booklet, Rejoice Together. We light this candle to remind ourselves to treat all people kindly, because they are our brothers and our sisters. We light this candle to remind ourselves to take good care of the earth, because it is our home. And we light this candle to remind ourselves to live lives full of goodness and love, because that is how we will become the best men and women can be. And from the same Unitarian booklet, Rejoice Together, our opening words are by William R. Murray. There are days that have been given to us. Let us rejoice and be glad in them. These are the days of our lives. Let us live them well, in love and service. These are the days of mystery and wonder. Let us cherish and celebrate them in gratitude together. These are the days that have been given to us. Let us make of them stories worth telling to those who come after us. And so we come to our first hymn this morning, and this is from the Purple Hymn Book, which will also be shown on the screen as is normal. And it's hymn 125, One More Step Along the World I Go. And there's no real introduction to this hymn. So, you know, perhaps if you could stand or sit as you are able, and we go straight in.
One more step along the world I go. One more step along the world I go. From the old things to the new. Keep me traveling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me traveling along with you. Round the corners of the world I turn. More and more around the world I turn. All the new things that I see, you'll be looking at along with me. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me traveling along with you. As I travel through the bad and good, keep me traveling the way I should. Where I see nowhere to go, you'll be telling me the way I know. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me traveling along with you. Give me courage when the world is rough. Keep me loving though the world is tough. Leave us singing all I do. Keep me traveling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me traveling along with you. You are older than the world can be. You are younger than the life in me. Ever old and ever new. Keep me traveling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me traveling along with you.
Some of you, or probably all of you, will have heard of Khalil Gibran, the great Lebanese-American poet, 1883 to 1931. Now, he has written many articles and poems on love in all its forms. And in particular today, relevant to my address later, he wrote about the idea of fond words left unspoken, particularly in the context of love, suggesting that what is meant and not said is a primary source of lost affection. His poem A Wordless Song also touches on this, describing a song of deep affection that is too profound to be put into words and remains sung by the soul instead of spoken aloud. On unspoken emotions in love, Gibran suggests that misunderstandings and hurt feelings can arise from unspoken emotions, with a gap between what is meant and not said being a source of lost love. And on the power of silence, he notes that the silence of unspoken thoughts and feelings can create a void that weakens connection. And now some words of Khalil's on love and equality. My poor friend, if you only knew that the poverty which causes you so much wretchedness is the very thing that reveals the knowledge of justice and the understanding of life. If you knew that, you would be contented with your lot. I say knowledge of justice, for the rich man is too busy amassing wealth to seek his knowledge. And I say understanding of life, but the strong man is too eager in his pursuit of power and glory to keep to the straight path of truth. Rejoice then, my poor friend, for you are the mouth of justice and the book of life. Be content, for you are the source of virtue in those who rule over you, and the pillar of integrity of those who guide you. If you could see, my sorrowful friend, that the misfortune which has defeated you in life is the very power that illumines your heart and raises your soul from the pit of derision to the throne of reverence. If you knew that, you would be content with your share, and you would look upon it as a legacy to instruct you and to make you wise. For life is a chain made up of many diverse links. Sorrow is one golden link between submission to the present and the promised hope of the future. It is a dawn between slumber and awakening. My beloved poor, the hour you spend with your wife and your children when you return home from the field is the earnest of all human families to come. It is the emblem of the happiness that will be the envy of all coming generations. But the life that the rich man spends in heaping up gold is in truth like the life of the worms in the grave. It is a sign of fear. And generations to come shall learn of sorrow and poverty, a lesson of love and equality. And turning to prayer, my first prayer, I took a leaf out of Steve's book at the back there and I turned to AI. So this one is AI generated. If you've never played with AI and done some writings, it's incredibly good and incredibly clever. But the second words are from Bruce T. Marshall. But the first AI contribution. O eternal light, who writes our days upon the unseen scroll, teach us to walk with integrity upon the pages you unfold. May our words be inked in truth, never smudged by deceit. Let justice be our compass and compassion our steady feet. In the vast book of life, where each soul is a living verse, grant us wisdom to read the hearts of others before we rehearse. May we honour each story, joy, sorrow, and striving, knowing every chapter has its holy surviving. Let ethics be not rule, but rhythm, a melody of fairness that breathes through our living. When pride would steer us, let humility correct our course. And when fear would bind us, let courage be our source. O author of love, whose pen is mercy and flame, write within us the kindness that bears your name. Let love be the law inscribed on every heart, the sacred reason we begin, the strength to never depart. Forgive our crossings out, our stains and tears, For you see not failure, but learning through years. May our final page shine with truth well told, and our souls return to you, bound in love and gold. Amen. And now the words by Bruce T. Marshall. The source of all wisdom and truth, guide our hearts towards what is just and kind. Let honesty dwell in our thoughts, and compassion shape our every choice. Teach us to see each soul as sacred, beyond rank, creed, or circumstance. May our actions mirror our ideals, and our words bring healing, not harm. Grant us courage to do what is right when silence would be easier. Let love be the measure of our duty, and integrity the path we walk. In an unsettled world, we seek for a few moments to turn away from the noise and confusion in our lives. We seek to enter a stillness that resides in the depths of each of us, a stillness that is at the center of all that exists. For a few moments, let us seek quiet. Not the quiet that is absence of noise, for there is always noise. Rather, it is like the stillness of a friend listening, the noontime silence of sunlight on a lake, silence of a new idea, a thought that makes the world pause, the quiet of growing plants, the quiet of a child sleeping, the silence that brings rest, the silence that brings renewal, the silence from which hope and love emerge. In that silence, as we now listen to the humming chorus by Puccini, we will discover the stillness that rests beneath the confusion and complexities of our own personal lives, and to keep trust as we move forward in life itself. And now it's time for our morning story, which, it has to be said, I know has come as a bit of a ritual here in Plymouth since Kate introduced our morning stories. It's probably not in the same slot as you're normally used to, but it's about to arrive. And today's story is one taken from the Unitarian booklet, 50 Tales to Ponder by Derek Smith. And you've probably, a lot of you might have read it before, because it's entitled The Chinese Chalk Circle. And it's a story which relates to a mother's love and which will lead us nicely into my address after our following hymn. And I've asked Stephen if he will read it. So thank you very much, Stephen.
The old Chinese story of the chalk circle runs something like this. In olden days, one of the provinces of China was invaded by enemy soldiers. The Lord Lieutenant of the province was arrested. His wife managed to escape, but she was so concerned with taking her fine clothes and her jewellery with her that her baby boy could not be found. He was left behind, and no one knows what happened to him. Some months later, the invaders were driven out of the province. The Lord Lieutenant had been killed, but his wife was still alive. She returned and went looking for her baby son, because he was now the heir to all the Lord Lieutenant's vast fortune of money, houses and lands. She searched everywhere, but could not find him. Eventually, in desperation, she claimed that the baby boy of a poor woman who took care of silkworms was her son. The mother denied her claim, but the Lord Lieutenant's wife insisted and took her claim to a judge. He listened to both women, each claiming to be the mother. Then he ordered a chalk circle to be drawn on the ground. The baby boy was then placed in the middle of the circle, and each of the two women were asked to take a hold of an arm. At a given signal, they were each to pull as hard as they could, and the one that managed to pull the baby out of the circle would be the winning mother. When the signal was given, the Lord Lieutenant's wife, thinking of all the money, houses and lands, pulled as hard as she could. But the other woman, thinking of the child, refused to pull at all. The Lord Lieutenant's wife won easily. The judge then ordered a second contest to make sure. Again, the Lord Lieutenant's wife, with dreams of a fortune, pulled as hard as she could, while the woman who took care of silkworms, thinking only of the child, didn't pull at all. Again, the Lord Lieutenant's wife won. Then the judge picked up the baby and handed him to the woman that took care of the silkworms, and said, "The child is clearly yours, because your love for him is such that you would rather let him go than have him harmed."
Yes, thank you very much, Stephen. And in fact, it was Stephen that flagged up to me that there is a similar story in the Judgment of Solomon, which some of you may well be aware of, when he ordered a baby in front of two women purporting to be the mother to be actually cut in half. So that was sort of even more dramatic. But yeah, Solomon 1 Kings 3, 16 to 18, if you want to read that one yourselves. And now we come to our second hymn. It's from the Green Hymn Book this time. It's called Trust in Life, hymn number 60.
We do not seek a
Here we are at the address. Our readings this morning have reflected on, as in our first reading by William R. Murray, the days of our lives. Let us rejoice and be glad in them. But moving on, let us look more closely at the practicalities of our living and how through different lenses we see the world in relation to ourselves and our families. Now, at the Christmas time of year just past, I expect, like me, you would have been preoccupied, checking your address books and your Christmas lists, hoping no one had been missed. A few nods there. Then writing and sending out greetings cards to new, familiar and old friends alike. Gifts, as well as cards, would have been, I assume, quite uppermost in our lives. What would be the most acceptable gift, I wonder, for my friend, my colleague, my relative? All that soul searching, looking through catalogues, the internet, retail outlets. What type of gift would be most appreciated? Would the gifts and cards be welcome? I must admit I've been extremely fortunate. None of my gifts will be offloaded, although cards will be recycled, probably through the church here at a later date. But I wonder, have you ever put your signature to a very different type of card? Nothing to do with Christmas, but a card that could, in unforeseen circumstances, also provide a gift. A gift that wouldn't require major shopping skills or be time-consuming in any way, but it would be the ultimate gift. And I am referring to the gift of life and the signing of a donor card. Like many of us here today, I've reached and greatly surpassed the magnificent age of 70 years. And with that milestone, I'm required to renew my driving licence every 3 years. This I have recently done. On the form for the renewal application, I am once again, as I was 3 years ago, asked that very same question. But try as I might, and as willing as I think I am, I nevertheless continue to defer ticking that box. This donor card that gives a medical profession permission to transplant bits of me and you into another person is powerful. A difficult decision not to be undertaken lightly. It is a powerful document. And would you readily consent for your body to be used in this way? Yes, I know. Once we're no longer alive, the pragmatic me agrees that it doesn't really matter. But in our hearts, and certainly in mine, maybe it does matter. I really don't know why I keep on deferring, but I do. Opposingly, if any one of us were very ill, say with a debilitating heart condition or liver disease or needing any other kind of transplant, would we wish to be an organ recipient? I'm certain we probably would. Two questions requiring a huge amount of consideration and perhaps two very different and opposing responses depending on your emotions and which side of the fence, so to speak, you found yourself. Now, I'm a fan of the author Jodi Picoult, and she has written a book on fiction, several books on fiction. But what she does is she bases them on fact. She writes novels around real life issues. And one of her novels was inspired by the Human Genome Project. She speaks about science, that it's only as ethical as the people who are researching and implementing it. And in the wake of such scientific advancement, what she felt was falling by the wayside, and that is the emotions involved in case scenarios, as mine in my constant deferment. But more of that later. Several years ago, I was nosing around the bookstall at the Unitarian General Assembly annual meetings, and I came across a book entitled The Book of Life, a personal and ethical guide to race, normality, and the implications of the Human Genome Project. Now, the title sounded a little intriguing, and after, well, maybe not to you, but it did to me. After a quick browse through the pages, surprisingly, I was hooked. So adding yet another book to my shopping basket, all I had to do was pay for the goodies and carry my purchases home. Now, I do have an interest in things medical. I'm fascinated by stories of survival and circumstances surrounding life and death. I'm fascinated by the uniqueness of life. What are the factors that make a newborn baby grow into a full-grown adult with all his or her own character traits, strengths, and weaknesses? The ability to fight off sickness and ill health, or not, as the case might unfortunately be. What, in essence, makes an individual individual? It is said that genetics is the modern frontier in science. It is a place we now look when we want to understand the big question, our place in the cosmos, the meaning of life. Not terribly long ago, we thought the answer might lie out there, in space. Now we look deep inside, into the nucleus of the cell. It is said that the new expansion of genetics and its body of knowledge are grounded in the political context of our time. Genetics puts all of the essence of life, all of its energy, majesty, and power into the nucleus of the cell. Genetics has become not just a science, but a way of thinking. Ruth Hubbard, Professor Emeriti at Harvard and herself a biologist, points out that scientists are not detached observers of nature. They are constantly making decisions about what they will consider significant. And these choices are not merely individual or idiosyncratic, but reflect the society in which the scientists live and work. The Human Genome Project is an international attempt to map the distribution of the genes and the chromosomes, and it's almost as if the soul has moved into the genes. It's an attempt to reduce us to biology, an attempt to explain people, our physical and our social presence. The writer says that she could actually figure out the Human Genome Project, what it means to map all of our genes onto their spots on the chromosomes, to read that, to compare genomes between groups of people, and potentially even to make changes to these genes. She could figure out what it means and what to do about it. But if only she could get this one missing bit filled in. What is the meaning of life? What is the point? Who is the self? Mapping the genome just won't answer that question. It makes the answer urgent, but it does not and cannot answer the question. Some people do feel they have an answer. For some, it is answered in organized religious belief, and for some of us in spirituality. But even without religion or spirituality, there are still questions that resonate. A few years before everything became genetic, the standard explanation was it's hormonal. Hormones were driving force in human behavior. And nowadays, whatever we do seems to link back to genetic tendencies. It's genetic is often referred to as an excuse or reason for good, bad behavior. Can't lose weight, can't gain weight. Got an A in maths, got an E. But all this is not what geneticists are calling genetic, fascinating as though it all is. Let us look at some interesting ideas. For example, how identical are identical twins? And like my sister and I am an identical twin. We were made of the same fertilized egg in the very same woman, nestled in the very same womb, but in life going our separate ways, experiencing life differently. Twins are not the same baby twice. At birth, they do not weigh the same. Their rates of growth can be dramatically different. Placed here or there, in the same womb, in the same woman, in the same environment, they're not having the same experience. Here isn't there, and nothing is ever the same. They don't even have the same genetic diseases. You can't get away from the idea of chance. Why does one twin develop cancer, say, or diabetes, and the identical twin not? Because a cell split one way and not another? So what, therefore, is the point of mapping genes, of understanding genetics? But then, every so often, when people are seen suffering because of the consequences of some gene gone awry, which indeed was the case with my daughter, I think it really would be a good idea if all these genetic abnormalities could be fixed. Perhaps good in various forms can come from all this genetic research. The geneticists are making us confront the question when they take bits of DNA from here and put it there, move it from one species to another, copying at will. When they graft and make hybrids, they are making us confront the question of where the line can be drawn. What or who can we create and for what purpose? It is something the mothers of this world know something about. Pregnancy is a powerful experience of feeling yourself become self and another. Looking then at the babe in arms with wonderment and concern at this new life that you have brought into existence. A mother holds a belief and a value and a commitment that this other little person is of intrinsic wholeness and worth. And it's not a bad way for us all to approach each other. Children born with disabilities can still be loved as passionately by their mothers. Maybe it's not what they wanted for their child, but it's what they have for their child. And it is what it is. Life is what it is. And you go on and you love. But why are we spending precious finances on creating a map? What is being looked for? The geneticist takes the individual person and deconstructs it into 100,000 separate instructions. This is you, he says. Well, what constitutes an identity then? Surely not just these thousands of genetic parts. I am me. From childhood through adolescence to all the changes of middle age and on into old age, with scars and bruises and losses, my identity as self holds firm. Self might reside in a divine soul, but not as the scientists believe in a genome map. If, like me, you don't have the comfort of believing in an everlasting soul to fall back on, and if you don't place the self in the nucleus of the cell, then where as individuals are we? Where is the true self really located? And when the author posed this question to a friend, the reply came back, look in the mirror. There's the self. Now I return now to my book of fiction by Jodi Picoult. It's entitled My Sister's Caper. So if anybody wants to borrow it, shout out now and you can be the first. Jodi Picoult makes the point that science is only as ethical as the people who are researching and implementing it. And in the wake of this such intense scientific advancement, what's falling by the wayside, as I said earlier, are the emotions involved in case-by-case scenarios. And here we return to the difficult and sometimes complex subject of becoming a donor, willingly as ticking a box on my driving license application form, or unknowingly, never mind unwillingly, as in the fictional book. Now, the author, Jodie, had heard the true story about a couple who, by genetic intervention, had successfully conceived a sibling that was a bone marrow transplant for her older sister, a girl suffering from a rare form of leukemia. The baby sister's cord blood cells were given to her older sister, who was still, several years later, in remission. But starting to wonder, what if the big sister ever sadly goes out of remission? Will her younger sister feel in any way responsible? Might she torment herself with how she has let her whole family down? Will she wonder if the only reason she was born was because her sister was sick? Starting to look more deeply at the family dynamics and how stem cell research might cause such an impact, the author then came up with that fictional story. And she makes the observation that she personally is pro-stem cell research because there's too much good it can do to simply dismiss it. However, clearly, it's a slippery slope. And sometimes researchers and political candidates get so bogged down in the ethics behind it and the details of the science that they forget completely we're talking about humans with feelings and emotions and hopes and fears, just like the sister of the fictional family. Jodie Picoult believes that we're all going to be pressured to think about these issues as time moves on. Indeed, as I was, as I said, when initially wondering whether to tick my box or not. And so, says Jodie, why not get in with a book of fiction first? Now, each chapter in her book is narrated in turn by the different characters in the story, each clearly and emotionally telling the story from both the parents' individual angles, the angle of the firstborn, who she called Kate, the older brother, who as a teenager went off the rails, feeling ignored within the family dynamic. And then we come to the first chapter, which is narrated by Anna, the donor daughter. She was a child born for a specific purpose. She wasn't the result of a cheap bottle of wine or full moon or the heat of the moment. She was conceived because a scientist managed to hook up her parents' genetic material to create a specific and precious combination. The parents chose Anna specifically because she, or rather her stem cells, could save her sister Kate, a leukemia sufferer. And as Anna says in that first chapter, what would have happened if Kate had been healthy? Chances are little old me would still be floating up in heaven or wherever, waiting to be attached to a body to spend some time on earth. Certainly I would not be part of this family. See, unlike the rest of the free world, I didn't get here by accident. Now, Anna was in fact a designer baby. She was born initially to only provide the stem cells for her sister, whether that is ethical or not. But it didn't stop there, because later on in life, her sister required blood transfusions and bone marrow transplants. And so it went on, until Anna, at 13 years of age, with Kate relapsing, was now required to be a kidney donor for her sister. Now, what happens next becomes the basis of the story. The author tackles head-on the perceived and different emotions felt by each family member, the questions, the concerns, the ethics. Indeed, was it ethical for Anna to provide that kidney for her sister? Was it what Anna wanted to do? And how was Kate feeling in all this? Because without her, none of these conversations would be taking place. Does she feel guilty? Does she actually want a transplant? Or is she tired of having to live with all her health issues and constantly being in and out of hospital? How do the family members, the parents, the older brother cope with all the emotive and ethical issues tied up in this drama? Do you think it was right that Anna should have been born to be a donor? Reading the book leaves the reader experiencing powerful emotions, not least when the dramatic ending unfolds. No spoilers here. Now I'm going to conclude now with the words I used to open this address. Would you prepare to be a donor, either alive to save a dying family member or dead, to give an unknown person the gift of life? What would be your wish? And what moral, ethical and religious debate would you need to engage with to influence your decision? I leave you this morning with those thoughts, indeed also with all those many unanswered questions. And still, you know, I don't know whether or not to tick that box. I'm going to defer another 3 years. Thank you. So our final hymn now this morning from the Purple Hymn Book is hymn number 83, Just As Long As I Have Breath. May the quality of our lives be our benediction and a blessing to all whom we touch.